He was a billionaire, the kind of man who didn't stop for anyone. Not for strangers, not for problems, and definitely not for broken cars on the side of the road. But that evening, he did, and that one decision was about to bring back a past he spent years trying to forget. The sun was setting over a quiet highway. Golden lights stretched across the road. Cars rushed by one after another. No one slowing down. No one stopping. Because that's how the world works. People see problems, and they keep driving. But she couldn't. A woman stood beside a broken-down car. Her hair slightly messy. Her face tired. But her eyes carried something deeper. Fear, worry, and the kind of exhaustion that doesn't come from one bad day, but from a hard life. Inside the car, a little girl sat quietly, watching every passing car, hoping someone would stop. But no one did. Not until a black luxury SUV slowed down. Smooth, silent, powerful, the window rolled down slightly, and a man looked out. Sharp features, calm eyes, controlled presence. This was Ethan Cole, a self-made billionaire, a man who built an empire from nothing and lost something far more valuable along the way. He wasn't supposed to stop. He had a meeting, an important one, the kind where decisions are worth millions, and seconds actually matter. But something felt off. His eyes locked onto the woman, just for a moment, and something inside him shifted. A feeling he hadn't felt in years. Something familiar. "Sir, should we keep going?" the driver asked. Ethan didn't respond immediately. His eyes stayed on her, on the car, on the little girl inside. Then quietly, he said, "Pull over." The SUV slowed and came to a stop. The door opened. Ethan stepped out, calm, confident, in control. But as he walked toward her, his heartbeat started rising, and he didn't know why. The woman turned, slightly startled, a little cautious. He stopped a few feet away, kept his distance, and said, "Looks like you need help." She hesitated, looked at him, then at his car, then back at him again. Yeah," she said softly. "The car just died. I don't know what's wrong." Her voice, it was quiet, but something about it didn't feel new. It felt familiar. Too familiar. Ethan froze for just a second, because that voice triggered something buried deep in his memory. A moment, a laugh, a name, from a life he thought was gone forever. No, that couldn't be possible. He shook it off, walked past her, and opened the hood of the car. "I'll take a look," he said calmly. Inside the car, the little girl leaned forward slightly. "Mom, who is he?" she whispered. The woman gave a small smile. "I don't know, sweetheart." But deep down, she felt it too. That strange feeling. Like this moment wasn't random. Ethan worked under the hood. Focused, quiet, but something kept pulling his attention back to her. Again and again, until finally, he looked up. This time longer. Closer, carefully studying her face. And that's when it hit him. His hand stopped, His breath caught, and his voice dropped to almost a whisper. Emily, because if this really was her, then the past he ran from was standing right in front of him. And this time, there was no escape. Emily, the name hung in the air. Heavy, unbelievable. The woman froze. Her body stiffened, like someone had just pulled her back into a memory she had tried to bury. Slowly, she looked at him again, this time properly, not as a stranger, not as someone helping her, but as someone she might have known before. Her eyes narrowed slightly, confused, searching, trying to connect pieces that didn't fit. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" she asked quietly. That hit him harder than anything else. Ethan stepped back a little, as if the question itself had weight. Of course she wouldn't recognize him. Not like this. Not after all these years. Not after everything that changed. He wasn't the same man anymore. Back then, he was just Ethan. No money. No power. No empire. Just a guy with dreams too big for his reality. And a girl who believed in him anyway. He let out a slow breath, trying to stay composed. "It's me," he said. A small pause. Then, "Ethan." Silence. Her expression didn't change immediately, but her eyes did. That one word unlocked something. A memory. A feeling. A version of herself she hadn't seen in years. "No," she whispered, almost to herself. She took a step closer, studying his face more carefully now. The jawline, the eyes, the way he stood. And then it hit her. Her hand slowly rose to her mouth. Her breath caught. Ethan. There it was. Recognition. Shock. And something deeper. Something unfinished. Neither of them spoke for a moment. Because in that silence, years of memories came rushing back. Late-night conversations. Cheap coffee dates. Laughing over nothing. Dreaming about a future they thought they'd share. Until one day, everything fell apart. She struggled to find words. "You look." She stopped, because there was no word for it. Different wasn't enough. "You changed," she finally said. Ethan gave a faint, almost bitter smile. "Yeah, life does that." Another silence. But this one was heavier. Because now, the question wasn't who they were. It was why they weren't together anymore. The little girl inside the car shifted again, watching both of them. Confused now. "Mom," she called softly. Emily blinked, as if snapping out of a trance. "Yeah, sweetheart, I'm here." Ethan's eyes moved toward the car. For the first time, really looking. At the child. Something in his chest tightened. "How old is she?" he asked quietly. Emily hesitated. Just for a second. But he noticed. "She's 6, she said. 6. Ethan repeated it in his head. 6 years. And suddenly, the timeline didn't feel random anymore. A strange thought crossed his mind. Quick, sharp, uncomfortable. But he pushed it away. "No, that wasn't possible." "You have a daughter," he said, more to himself than to her. Emily nodded. Her expression changed slightly. Guarded now. Careful. Yes, I do. Another silence fell between them. But this one was different, because now there were questions, big ones, dangerous ones. Ethan looked back at her, his voice lower now, more serious. What happened, Emily? That question wasn't just about the car. It was about everything. Why she disappeared. Why she never called. Why she left without a word. Emily looked away. Toward the road. Toward the cars that never stopped. Her jaw tightened slightly. You really want to do this right here? She asked. Ethan didn't hesitate. After all these years. A pause. Yeah, I do. She looked back at him, eyes filled with something he couldn't fully read. Pain, regret, maybe even anger. You think I left just like that? She said quietly. Ethan's expression hardened slightly. You didn't give me a reason to think otherwise. That hit. Hard. Emily let out a soft, almost disbelieving laugh. Wow, you really don't know. Ethan frowned. Know what? She stepped closer. Not afraid anymore. Not distant anymore. Now, this was personal. You think I walked away from you? Her voice cracked slightly. I didn't leave you, Ethan. A pause. A deep breath. I was forced to. And just like that, everything changed. Ethan's entire body went still. Because that sentence carried a truth he was not ready for. What are you talking about? He asked. Emily looked at him, straight into his eyes. The night I disappeared. She said slowly, your father came to see me. Silence. Absolute silence. Your father came to see me. Ethan didn't move. Didn't blink. Didn't breathe for a second. My father. The words came out slower than he expected. Heavier too. Emily nodded. Her eyes locked onto his. No hesitation now. No running. Yes. Ethan shook his head slightly. Confused. Almost defensive. That doesn't make any sense, he said. My father wouldn't. He did. She cut him off. Not loudly, but firmly. And that was enough to silence him. Because deep down, there was a part of Ethan that knew. His father was the man he showed the world. Why, Ethan asked. His voice lower now. Careful, like he wasn't sure he wanted the answer. Emily looked away for a moment, as if replaying something painful. Because of you, she said. Ethan frowned. That still doesn't explain anything. It explains everything, she replied. A pause. He told me. She swallowed slightly. That I was a distraction. Ethan's jaw tightened. That I was holding you back. Another pause. Longer this time. And that if I really cared about you. Her voice softened. I would walk away. Ethan looked at her like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. You're saying you just listened to him. Emily's eyes flashed. Not anger. Pain. You think that's all he said. Ethan didn't respond. Because now, something felt wrong. Very wrong. Emily stepped closer. Her voice dropped. More intense now. He didn't just ask me to leave, Ethan. A beat. He threatened me. Silence. Ethan's expression changed instantly. What? He said if I didn't disappear. She continued slowly. He would destroy everything. Ethan's fists clenched slightly. My career hadn't even started yet, he said. What could he possibly? Not you. She interrupted again. Me. That hit differently. Emily looked down for a moment, then back at him. My family wasn't rich. We didn't have power. We didn't have protection. A pause. He made it very clear. Her voice almost broke. That he could ruin us overnight. Ethan didn't say anything. Because now, this wasn't just a story. This was real. And the worst part, she continued. He told me. She hesitated. Just for a second. That you would understand. Ethan's eyes widened slightly. That you would choose your future over me. Silence. Heavy. Uncomfortable. I didn't believe him, Emily said quickly. I fought it, I argued. Her breathing got heavier. But then, she looked straight at him. He showed me something. Ethan's voice dropped. What? Emily didn't answer immediately. Because this was the part that changed everything. A contract, she finally said. Ethan frowned. A deal already in motion. She took a step closer. Your future was already planned, Ethan. Another pause. A merger, a partnership, something big. Ethan's face slowly lost color. Because now, he remembered his first major breakthrough. The deal that made him who he is today. It happened right after Emily disappeared. You're saying, he struggled to finish the sentence. That wasn't a coincidence. Emily shook her head slowly. No. Silence. They wanted you focused. Clean image. No distractions. A bitter smile appeared on her face. And I was the problem. Ethan ran a hand through his hair, trying to process everything. All these years, he muttered. He looked at her again. Why didn't you tell me? That question carried years of pain inside it. Emily laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. Tell you what? That your father threatened me. That your future was built on me disappearing. She shook her head. You wouldn't have believed me. Ethan didn't respond, because a part of him knew. She might be right. And even if you did, she continued, you would have tried to fix it. A pause, and he would have destroyed everything. Silence again. Ethan looked away. For the first time, he didn't look like a billionaire. He looked like someone who just realized his entire life might be built on a lie. Then slowly, his eyes moved back to the car, to the little girl inside. Watching them, waiting, his voice dropped again. Quieter now, more serious. Emily. A pause. Is she? But he didn't need to, because Emily already knew the question. Her expression changed instantly. Guarded, careful, emotional. She took a deep breath, and for the first time, she didn't look away. She looked straight at him and said, that's not something you ask, standing on the side of a road. Silence, but this silence was different, because now, the truth was right there, just one answer away. Because if that little girl was his daughter, then he didn't just lose the woman he loved. He lost an entire life. That's not something you ask, standing on the side of a road. Ethan didn't respond. He couldn't, because the question he didn't finish was already answered in her silence. His eyes slowly shifted. Back to the car, to the little girl. She was still watching them. Curious, innocent, unaware that her entire world was about to change. Ethan took a step back, ran a hand over his face, trying to stay in control. But for the first time in years, he wasn't in control. How long? He asked quietly. Emily didn't pretend not to understand. 6 years, she said. That number hit harder this time. Because now, it meant something. You were pregnant when you left. It wasn't a question. Emily nodded slowly. Another silence. Heavy, sharp, unforgiving. Ethan let out a breath. But it wasn't relief. It was something breaking. You didn't tell me, he said. Emily's expression tightened. I couldn't. You should have. His voice wasn't loud, but it carried something dangerous. I had a right to know, and I had a child to protect. Her voice rose for the first time. That stopped him. Completely. Because now, this wasn't just about the past. This was about her. Her choices. Her survival. You think I wanted to do this alone? She continued. You think I wanted to raise a child without you? Her eyes filled, but she didn't look away. I was scared, Ethan. A pause. Not for me. Her voice softened. For her. Silence. Ethan looked down, his jaw tight, his mind racing. Everything he built, everything he believed, everything he trusted, was cracking. My father knew, he said slowly. Emily didn't answer. That was answer enough. A bitter smile crossed Ethan's face. Of course he did. He turned away slightly. All this time, he shook his head. I thought I lost you because I wasn't enough. He laughed once. Cold. Empty. But I lost you because someone else decided you didn't belong in my life. Emily watched him quietly. Because she knew. This part was something he had to face alone. Inside the car, the little girl opened the door slightly. Mom. Her small voice cut through everything. Both of them turned instantly. Emily walked toward her. It's okay, sweetheart, she said softly. But the girl looked past her, straight at Ethan. Is he the one you cry about? Silence. Ethan froze. Emily closed her eyes for a second. Because kids always say the truth. Sometimes, Emily said quietly. The little girl stepped out of the car now, standing beside her mother, still looking at him. Ethan didn't move. He didn't know how to. Because in that moment, he wasn't a billionaire. He wasn't powerful. He wasn't untouchable. He was just a man, standing in front of his daughter. For the first time. What's your name? He asked gently. The girl hesitated, then answered, Lily. Lily. The name echoed in his mind, a name he had never heard before, but somehow felt like it always belonged to him. He swallowed hard. That's a beautiful name. She smiled slightly. Mom picked it. Ethan glanced at Emily. She didn't say anything, but her eyes did. Years of pain, years of strength, years of doing this alone. I wanted to tell you, she said finally. Ethan looked at her. So many times. A pause, but every time I tried. Her voice broke slightly. I remembered what your father said. Silence, and I chose her. She looked down at Lily. Every single time. That hit deeper than anything else. Ethan nodded slowly. Not in agreement. Not fully, but in understanding. Because now, he saw it. This wasn't betrayal. This was sacrifice. A long silence followed. Then Ethan spoke again. Calm, controlled, but different now. Where do you live? Emily hesitated. Why? Ethan looked at her. Because this conversation isn't over. A pause. Not even close. His eyes hardened slightly. And neither is what my father did. There it was. The shift. Not just emotion anymore. Now, it was personal. Very personal. Emily studied him carefully. You're going to go after him. Ethan didn't look away. I'm going to get the truth. A pause. And then we'll see. Silence. Because they both knew what that really meant. This wasn't just about the past anymore. This was about justice. And maybe a second chance. Because now that he knew the truth, Ethan wasn't just fighting for love. He was fighting for the life that was stolen from him. Hey, can we talk? Lily looked up at her mother, as if asking permission without saying a word. Emily hesitated, just for a moment. Then she stepped aside. Come in. Ethan walked inside. Slowly, carefully. The house was small, simple, but warm. Photos on the walls. Drawings. A life built piece by piece. Without him, that thought stayed with him. Sit, Emily said. Ethan nodded, but his eyes were still on Lily. She sat across from him now. Quiet, observing, not scared, just unsure. Ethan leaned forward slightly. I know this is confusing, he said gently. Lily didn't respond immediately. Then she asked, Are you my dad? Straight, simple. The question hit harder than anything before. Ethan looked at Emily. She didn't answer for him. This was his moment. He looked back at Lily. His voice calm, but honest. I think I am. A pause. But we're going to make sure. Emily nodded slightly. DNA test, she said. Ethan agreed instantly. Today, no hesitation. Because now, there was no running from the truth. Time skip. A few hours later, they sat in silence, waiting. No distractions. No small talk. Just thoughts. Years of them. Lily played quietly in the corner, unaware that her future was being decided. Finally, Ethan's phone buzzed. The result. His hand tightened slightly as he opened it. Emily watched him. Not breathing. Not moving.